Welcome back, folks, for a new episode of Leaked. Today we'll cover the endgame, the big boys, the Tier 9 and Tier 10 of the upcoming Czechoslovakian medium tank line. It is the Škoda T50 at Tier 9 and the T50-51 at Tier 10. Now, quick history about the timeline of the TVP program. So in 1945, the VTU, the Military Technical Institute of Czechoslovakia, wanted a main battle tank called TVP to replace the previous used vehicles like the Panzer IVs, the Panzer 38Ts, the Hetzers, the captured Cromwells, you name it. So they wanted a main battle tank to replace the previous used vehicles called the TVP VTU concept. They proposed the idea to the Škoda company based on a few specifications they wanted. And when the Škoda company took a look at it, they go, yeah, it's physically impossible to produce such a tank because physics and the limitations of the weight of the vehicle and the big caliber of the gun, yada yada yada. So it's physically impossible for us to produce the tank you wanted. So they countered with the Škoda T40, the Tier 6 premium tank, in response. So that happened in 1945. Now, the time period between 1945 and 1948, the documentations of the TVP program was not that clear, and there were water damage to the archives and a bunch of stuff happened, so yeah, the tanks were not that well documented. But in 1948, the military wanted a better TVP, a better tank. So the Škoda company was contracted with the Task 181B to produce the Škoda T50, and the Praga/ČKD company was contracted with the Task 181A to produce the T51. So two companies were working to two TVPs, and basically these vehicles were not that well documented, so there were bickerings back and forth, and these two companies were in competition. So what happened was, in the later stages, the military decided to join the forces of these two companies and merge the T50 and the T51 into one vehicle, and that's the Tier 10 vehicle you see today. But the main reason that this vehicle or any other TVPs were never produced and made it off the blueprints was because the licensed production of the T-3485s and later on it's the T-54s. So political and economical pressures from the Soviets, and yeah, that was mostly it. So yeah, the T-54 stole the spotlight and became the most mass-produced tank in human history. So sad to say. Now, as I mentioned before, the TVP VTU concept, the Škoda T40, as well as the T50 and T51 were not that well documented because during this time, the archives got water damage and some papers were lost. So there were not that many reliable sources of blueprints and reference materials for these vehicles. Now, the main controversy behind the scenes is nobody knows what the Škoda T50 actually looks like because there were not that many reference materials. So basically, based on this picture, Wargaming produced the Škoda T50, but historically, this picture is falsified based on the findings of Jiri Tinteria. He is one of the Wargaming's historians for Czechoslovakia, and Vladimir Franchev. So basically, these two historians prove that this vehicle did not actually exist. So this is Pashkov's TVP, and basically what he did is he took the hull armor or hull from a TVP tank destroyer and merged it with the turret of a Škoda T17 light tank. So basically, he meshed and Frankenstein this vehicle from a light tank's turret, enlarged it, and placed it on a tank destroyer and called it the Škoda T50 because there were no documentations to prove him wrong, so to speak. So basically, as you can see, there were TVPs with pike nose frontal hull, and these were fixed mounted guns, tank destroyers, and he took the hull armor and placed it with the T17, Škoda T17 light tank, and called this vehicle the Škoda T50. So basically, it's a falsified quote-unquote tank, and nobody could prove him wrong because the archives got damaged. So yeah, But if you want to read about the controversy and all the exciting histories behind the Czechoslovakian TVP program, I highly recommend you reading the articles I posted in the description below. So Silent Stalker has originally written a lot of stuff and done a lot of research, and I highly recommend you reading it because covering the controversy is pretty fascinating, but it takes a long time. So basically, nobody knows what the Škoda T50 looks like. So basically, Wargaming goes on a falsified, quote-unquote falsified picture of a Škoda T50, but yeah. Water damage and archives does not mix well together, so history is blurred by damages, so that sucks. But the Škoda T50 merged with the Praga ČKD T51 into the T50-51, so this tank right here. It was not supposed to have the pike nose armor that's on the Škoda T50. It was meant to have an X-shape engine with 6 road wheels, 6 pairs of road wheels, one more than T51, the same turret, and a better gun, the AK-1 100mm gun. So basically, documentations were scarce and papers were hard to get by, so resources to find the blueprints of these vehicles were hard, but yeah, a lot of exciting history behind the scenes. But it's time for the fun stuff, so no more history, let's move on to the game stats and models. And here are the HD screenshots of the Škoda T50 at tier 9. Now this vehicle looks like a hybrid between IS-3 and a Panther 2. So it has the pike-shaped nose and the hemispherical turret like that of a Russian tank, but it has the matlet and the elongated shape like that of a German. So it's not that bad looking. It's like a mix, so that's good. Has a large caliber anti-aircraft machine gun on top. It's likely a licensed copy of the Dushka, the 12.7mm heavy anti-aircraft machine gun. But yeah, this vehicle is not that bad looking. Has the spare track links on the top of the upper glacis, so it looks like an IS-3, so that's cute. But there's no muzzle brake on the gun, so that's not Russian. It looks Russian, but there's no muzzle brake and there's no bore evacuator, so okay. But there's a log, so yeah, if it has a log, it's likely Russian, so that's awesome. There's no fuel tanks though on the back of the hull, so surprisingly. The turret is hemispherical with a triangular shape matlet. So this matlet is German, but the turret is Russian. And you have a cupola that's a little bit bulging, so it's like American too. Now here's a good size comparison of the vehicle. Now this tank is a little bit bigger than a T-54 or T-62A, but it's not as big as a Panther 2 or Tiger 2. So the camouflage rating should be around 12-13%, whereas the T-54 has 15%. So the camouflage rating is not going to be that bad, so I like it. It's not a bad looking tank. Not bad. I like it. Awesome. And here are the collision models of this vehicle. Now what is interesting about this vehicle is the side armor, but we'll get to it. So as you can see, the side armor is sloped downwards like that of a T-22CP or the Object 907, but it's not V-shape all the way, so it's slightly sloped downwards. And what this means is that it gives more sloping to the side armor. If you side script with it, it could bounce a few shots if they hit above the tracks, but between the tracks it's flat. So yeah, the side armor is rather interesting, but I think the Russian medium tanks have like 90mm or something on the side armor, whereas this vehicle has only like 50. So still interesting, but not as good as the Russian vehicles. So sad to say. Frontal plate is not bad, 110mm, slope backwards into a pike-shaped nose, so you could bounce a few shots. The spare track links provides additional armor, but not that much. lower plate is rather huge, and it's only 92 millimeters flat, so this is a big weak spot. The turret is not as good as the Russians, so only 135. Yeah, shooting here will probably penetrate, but shooting at the cheeks probably will bounce. So the turret is not as strong as the Russians, but it's a lot better than the TVPV2 concept, right? So you could bounce a few shots if you go hull down, and the matlet will save you because it's a lot bigger than the tier 8. So that's good. It's fine. I can deal with it. It's like a hybrid between a French tank and a German/Russian tank, or a German tank with a Russian gun. So yeah, I like it. And here are the main stats for the Škoda T50. So it's going to be a tier 9 Czechoslovakian medium tank, has 1650 health, like a T54, so Russian in health, which is below average. 1000 horsepower engine for 38.4 tons. That's good. 1000 horsepower, has 26.04 horsepower per ton ratio. That's insanely good. So this tank is highly mobile. Top speed is 50 kilometers per hour. Reverse is 20. Good. Hull traverse is 42 degrees per second. Turret traverse 37.5. Yeah, very good. The turret traverse is a little bit slow, but still workable. So yeah, this turret is fine, I guess. But if it's like 30 degrees per second, that's a little bit too slow. So yeah, not bad. Mobility. Terrain resistance 0.959 for hard, 1.29 for medium, and 1.87 for soft. So not that bad. And coupled with the crazy power to weight ratio, the mobility is pretty nice. So this thing is fast. That's good. View range is 380 meters. That's kind of bad for a tier 9 medium. The average is at least 390-ish. So this is kind of bad. I think the T54 has 390. So this is below Russian view range. And what that means is you probably will have your teammate spot for you instead of yourself. So tanks like the Patton spots for themselves. Tanks like the Centurion spots for themselves. You probably have to have a light tank do the work. So that sucks, but the radio range is superfluous. So it's above 700. So that's too good of a radio. Hull armor is 65 at the front, even though we saw sides that are 110-ish. So I believe that collision model is the actual effective armor instead of the actual plating thickness. So basically that picture lied to me, I'm sorry. But the hull armor at the front is 65 millimeters, which is crap. Side armor is 40, rear armor is 40. Oh god. Turret armor is 120 at the front. So basically what that picture showed us was the effective armor, not the actual armor. And I was trolled. So armor wise, it's still pretty bad. So you could bounce a few shots from the turret if you hit the cheeks of the vehicle, but yeah, 120 for a hemispherical turret is not that good. It's like playing with the, I don't know, Scouting WZ or T54 lightweight. I think, how much armor does the T54 lightweight have for the turret? A 200 or so? Oh god, this turret is not that well bouncy, so don't rely on it. Side of the turret is 80 millimeters and the rear is 60. So yeah, armor wise, you could bounce a few shots, but just don't rely on it. Has 3 different guns, all 100 millimeters, so various penetration, as you can see here. The top gun is the same gun on the tier 10, and it's an autoloader, so it has 3 shells per clip. It's pretty interesting. Now, what is interesting about the penetration values between the gold shell and the normal AP is, as you can see, for the 2 stock guns, the gold shell has around 30 to 40-ish millimeters increase, whereas for the top gun, it's about 70 to 80-ish millimeters. And what this means is that I believe the gold shell for the stock guns are APCR, and the top gold shell, or the Top Gun's gold shell, is high explosive anti-tank. So usually the high explosive anti-tank has more penetration than the APCR change or range between the actual AP shell. So I don't know if this Top Gun fires APCR as a standard default ammo or just AP, but historically speaking, from the Škoda T50 and the T51 and the T51-50 combination hybrid, is that they wanted the shell to travel about 845 meters per second to 900 meters per second. So this is basically AP shell, not APCR. APCR has around 1,400 meters per second of travel speed. So it's probably AP shell for the Top Gun. It's good in some cases because it has better normalization for AP than the APCR, but it doesn't travel as fast, so it's a toss-up. Rate of fire is 7.29 rounds per minute. DPM is not that bad, 2,333. So if you could fit a gun rammer onto this vehicle, like that of a Chery or 59-13 or Spielpanzer 1C, yeah, DPM could go up to 2,600 or so, which is pretty nice. And it's an autoloader, so it beats out the T54E1 and the Lorraine 40T at tier 9, so that's good. It's only an autoloader for the Top Gun, 3-round clip. It takes 1.5 seconds between each shot, so that's pretty good. It's almost Chery. Chery is 1 second, so it's close to the American autoloader than the French. French has 2.73 seconds per shot between the shots. So yeah, 1.5 seconds. That's very good. Reloads for the clip is 21.09 seconds. So you could increase that with the gun rammer. So that's pretty decent. Accuracy is very good, 0.336. Aim time, 2.11 seconds. Not bad. Gun depression, 8 degrees. Very good. Elevation is 20 degrees. Oh, this might be a keeper because it's like playing with a rapid firing autoloader than the long clip autoloader. So basically long clip autoloaders are French, so they take like 40 seconds to reload. Short clip autoloaders like the Americans take around 20 seconds to reload, other than the T54E1, but that's a whole different story. So basically in 3 seconds this vehicle clips you for 960 damage, and he runs away to reload for 20 seconds. He comes back to do another 960 damage. It's basically a Jagdpanzer E100 at tier 9, right? That's crazy. And let's compare the Škoda T50 with the Lorraine 40T at tier 9. Now armor wise, both vehicles have no armor, so both vehicles are French. But the Lorraine is more French because it's 40 millimeters at the front for the hull and only 45 for the turret. Whereas this vehicle has somewhat of a turret armor, so you could bounce a few shots, but don't rely on it, so ick. But let's compare the other stats. So health wise, yep, it has below average health, but slightly more than the Lorraine, so that's good. Power to weight ratio is better than the Lorraine. Wow, so this thing is even faster. Top speed is not as fast though, so 10 less kilometers per hour, and below average, but 50 kilometers per hour is no joke if you have 26.04 horsepower per ton ratio. So this thing is no joke. You can just rev up to 50 kilometers per hour all the time, so that's very good. Terrain resistance is below average, but I couldn't really complain, so yeah, it's below average for all of them and around the average for soft. So I still prefer the crazy horsepower per ton ratio, so that's not bad. It's fair. Hull traverse is a lot faster than the Lorraine though, so that's good, and it's above average. So this thing does turn pretty well. Turret traverse is below average. but it's still workable, 37.5 degrees per second. So basically, the mobility of this vehicle is still superb because the power to weight ratio, the okay-ish workable terrain resistance, and the hull traverse is a lot faster than the Lorraine 40T. So basically, it's like playing with the Lorraine 40T, except you have a faster firing gun because it takes only 21 seconds to reload the clip, but the clip is not that big, so you don't have to expose yourself for that long while you're unloading. So it's a good balance to the Lorraine 40T. I like it. View range is way below average, only 380 meters. So that sucks, but I guess I can deal with it. It's fine. The radio range is superfluous. It doesn't matter. Hull armor is negligible, so there's no armor whatsoever. Let's take a look at the DPM and the guns. So as you can see, the penetration is pretty decent, 248 millimeters for auto-loading clip. So that's a lot better than the Lorraine and way better than the T54E1, because the T54E1 has around 210 millimeters of penetration, which is not that good. But yeah, this tank has pretty good penetration. DPM is very good. It's like that of a normal firing tank or medium tank. So it's an autoloader, but it doesn't have the drawbacks of lower DPM. So that's crazy good. That's actually insane. Accuracy is a lot better too. And same goes for the aim time. So better accuracy, better aim time, about the same speed, better penetration, better DPM. Gun depression is the same as the Lorraine, 8 degrees, but you have better elevation, 20 degrees. This thing is a keeper. I like it. It has crazy DPM for a burst vehicle, for an auto-loading vehicle. That's insane, right? It has good accuracy, good penetration, good aim time, crazy mobility, at all the cost of armor. It's fine. I can just don't need armor. Who needs armor if you can just run around and dirt people and clip them in like 920 or 960 damage in 3 seconds and you run away? That's fair. I don't care. I don't need armor in that case. But this vehicle is a keeper. It's like playing with a Škoda T25 at tier 6. So yeah, it's nice. I like it. And here are the HD screenshots of the tier 10 final boss, the T50-51. Now this vehicle has the same turret as the Škoda T50 at tier 9, but they changed the hull armor, they added better stats for the mobility, and one more round to the clip. So this vehicle has 4 rounds in the magazine, and therefore it does 1,280 damage per whole clip in 4.5 seconds. That's crazy. It's like an intermediate step between a Batchat and the T57 heavy tank. Now this vehicle has higher DPM than the Batchat, so it's a little bit more reliable. The Batchat has high burst damage, but it takes too long to reload. It takes about 40 seconds to reload, whereas this vehicle takes only 24 seconds or so to reload the whole clip. So it's even deadlier. Now imagine a platoon of 3 of these vehicles. It's crazy, right? It can burst down a mouse with about 600 damage left. So it takes 24 seconds to reload. That's quick if you compare that to a 40 seconds reload. So this vehicle is very deadly. They changed the hull armor from a pike nose to a frontal plate, slope frontal plate, like an IS-4. I like it better this way, so it's more uniform. I like it. It's a pretty decent looking vehicle. They mount up the log in the back. They added fuel tanks, so it makes it look like more Russian, so to speak. But yeah, this vehicle is still pretty. It's decent enough. Now the size of this vehicle should be between that of a E50M and a T62A, so the camouflage rating is still pretty decent, I bet. So yeah, it's a nice vehicle. This is a keeper. Well, then again, it's a tier 10, so all tier 10s are keepers, right? There's no point of buying a tier 10. Yeah, just this vehicle is just good. It's OP. It could be OP, just we don't know the test results from the burst damage yet from the autoloader, but this vehicle is still Pretty awesome. So here are the collision models of this vehicle. As you can see, no armor. Yet again, it's French in terms of armor. You could bounce a few shots from the mantlet and the cheeks of the turret, but don't rely on it. It's not suitable for bouncing like Russian tanks. So yeah, no armor whatsoever. I think this vehicle has less armor on the ass than the Škoda T50. So no armor whatsoever. And here are the main stats for the T50-51. It's a tier 10 medium tank, so 1950 health, which is pretty good. Think about it. It's about the same as the FV4202 into the Action X Centurion, so decent amount of health. The Object 140 has 1900 or so, same for the T62A, so 50 more health than the Russian tanks. That's good. Better than the Batchat. I was about to say Lorraine, but better than the Batchat. The Batchat has 1800 health, so could take a little bit more hits, I guess. Engine power is 1000 horsepower, weighs 40 tons. Now, the power to weight ratio is 25, still pretty good. Pretty goddamn amazing too. Top speed is even faster, 60 kilometers per hour. Reverse is 20. So this thing is still very fast. Hull traverse is buffed 54 degrees per second in comparison to the tier 9, so it turns pretty well. Turret traverse is the same because the same turret, 37.5 degrees per second. Still, it's okay, it's workable. But the terrain resistance got buffed major, so 0.76 for hard, 1.05 for medium, and 1.7 for soft. That's amazing. The view range got buffed dramatically, 410 meters. So basically you had the problem of not spotting for yourself at tier 9 with 380 meters. Now you have 410. That's amazing. Has superfluous radio 850, so still good. Hull armor is not there. 65 at the front, 40 at the sides, 30 at the rear. Turret armor is the same, 120 at the front, 80 at the sides, and 60 at the rear. So, whatever. Don't need armor if you're super fast. So, oh my god, the view range, the buff to terrain resistance, and hull traverse, top speed. It's good. It's good. Okay. It is the same gun that's on the tier 9, the 100mm AK-1. It fires AP, likely high explosive anti-tank, and high explosive. So based on the 248mm of penetration, that's likely AP because it's about the same as the T123 on the M48 patent hybrid. So that vehicle has 120mm, which fires AP. It's also like the 121, the tier 10 Chinese medium tank with 122mm. So it's likely AP round for this vehicle. It's not that bad. Damage is 320, so Russian gun-ish. Rate of fire is 8.1 round per minute, which is pretty good. DPM is 2,609. You could ramp that up to 3,000 with a gun rammer if you could fit it, and vents. So autoloader has 4 rounds. Time between each shot is 1.5 seconds, so it takes 4.5 seconds to finish the whole clip after firing the first shot. So it takes about 25 seconds to reload the whole clip, which could be buffed if you have gun rammer, vents, and bursting arms. So accuracy is still pretty decent, 0.336 for autoloader. This is an autoloader, alright. Takes 1.9 seconds to aim. Has 8 degrees of gun depression and 20 elevation. It's like playing with a Batchat, but you're more flexible with higher DPM and better accuracy, better aim time, better view range, maybe, but still. The DPM, if you could have 3000 DPM on the Batchat, that vehicle would be crazy. This vehicle is close to that, so yeah, this thing is a keeper. It's just keep it. Well, then again, it's a tier 10. You're supposed to keep it, so keep it. And let's compare the T50-51 with the Batchat at tier 10. Now, both vehicles do not have armor because they're pretty much French in gameplay. So the Batchat has 60mm at the front, or 50-ish, whereas the T50-51 has 65. So armor on the hull, crap. Turret armor is 70 on the Batchat and 120 on the T50-51. 120 is the same as 70 at tier 10. You're going to get penetrated by a Jagdpanzer E100. Doesn't matter how thick your armor on the turret. Between 120 and 70, you're going to get penetrated. So, yep, armor is negligible on both vehicles. It doesn't matter. But do take notice that the Batchat has a smaller silhouette than the T50-51. So the camouflage rating on the Batchat is superb, whereas the T50-51 might be around 13-ish% or 14-ish%. So, yeah, small detail. But let's compare the other stats. So health-wise, has average health for the T50-51. The Batchat has less. So the T50-51 is slightly more durable. Horsepower per ton ratio is better on the Batchat, but 25 is still pretty good. So I'll take the 25. Yeah, I'll take it. Top speed is 5 kilometers per hour slower, but 60 is still pretty goddamn good. So I'll take the 60 kilometers per hour. Alright, hull traverse, pretty good, 54 degrees per second, which is above average, and better than the Batchat. So this thing turns pretty quickly to circle strafe. That's nice. Turret traverse is below average and under the Batchat, but not that much. 37.5 degrees per second is workable. And you do have the hull traverse to compensate, so it's workable, it's fine. Terrain resistance, better than the Batchat for hard, worse than the Batchat for medium, and worse than the Batchat for soft, but it's around the same ballpark, so yeah, it's not that bad. And coupled with the crazy horsepower per ton ratio, so it's still workable, right? So this thing is not that bad. View range is better than the Batchat, so you can spot for yourself, whereas the tier 9 has only 380 meters. That's 30 meters boost from tier 9 to tier 10. That's insane. So yeah, view range is very good. And radio range is superfluous. So yeah, mobility, good. Armor, and slightly better armor. A little bit more health, so it's slightly more durable than the Batchat. Could go YOLO rushing a little bit better, but the DPM is more important. So let's take a look. So penetration is nice, good. So okay, but 248 is passable at tier 10 for a medium tank that could go flanking and circle strafing. So 248 is workable. Alpha is below average, but you do have a clip, so it's fine. It's like a Russian gun, but the DPM is way better than the Batchat. So 2,609 is one more round than the Batchat damage output. If you could fit a gun rammer onto the T50-51, like T59-16 or Cherie or Spielpanzer 1C, that would be awesome. Yeah, it does fire a lot faster too. The Batchat takes 2.73 seconds per shot of the clip. So of the shells in the clip. Whereas the T50-51 takes only 1.5 seconds. So you pump out 2 shots, whereas the Batchat pump out 1. Yeah, it's not fair. Accuracy is a lot better too. So 0.336 in comparison to 0.364. Aim time is faster too, 1.9 seconds in comparison to 2.6 seconds. Gun depression is better, elevation is better. Oh my god, this thing is... Oh. It's like playing with the Object 140. You throw away the armor, you don't need the armor. So the mobility is crazy good, you just need the mobility, you don't need the armor. You burst people down, fire 4 rounds. Each round does 320 damage. The whole clip does 1,300 damage or so. And you run away for 25 seconds to reload and come back for 4.5 seconds of crazy damage dealing and runs away again. This thing is a dream. If you like the Batchat, you will love this vehicle. Alright, the Batchat is one of the main staples of clan wars and tournaments for tier 10. This thing is close. It's actually better in my opinion, but yeah, this thing is good. It's good. And the final opinion about the big boys at Tier 9 and Tier 10 of the Czechoslovakian medium tank line is they're both keepers to me. The Tier 9 may have some downsides, like the view range is only 380 meters at Tier 9, which is below average. The terrain resistance is also not that great, but it's okay, it's workable. The top speed is only 50 kilometers per hour only, but yeah, it's fine. It's a solid vehicle for a Tier 9 medium tank. The Tier 10, however, it's so good. So yeah, it's too good. The Tier 10 is amazing at top speed, terrain resistance, hull traverse, view range, accuracy of the autoloader, aim time of the autoloader, reload time, the DPM. The health is not that low like a Bad Chat. The power to weight ratio is 25, still pretty goddamn good. Yeah, downsides is armor, and that's pretty much it. So you don't need armor if you can burst damage and run away. So armor is whatever. It's only one side of the triangle. If you have crazy stats for the other two sides of the triangle, your tank is crazy good. So yeah, the T5051, that's how I describe it. So it's amazing. It looks like the Tier 5 is meh. The Tier 6, pretty good. The Tier 7, Constructicon, is it's okay. Tier 8 is meh. Tier 9, solid, good. Tier 10 is so yeah, I'm looking forward to the top tiers of the Czechoslovakian medium tank line. So tell me what you think. Tell me all the details of how you should get or how you should play these tanks. So let me know. But thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.